They are offering $31,548 in builder credits if you were to buy this particular property. Okay, that is friggin' huge because you could do a lot with those builder credits, man. 31 G's.
Texas is an area that is highly sought after to invest in because there's a huge deficit of housing. So there's a huge discrepancy between supply and demand. And as I always say, that's the number one thing to look at.
All right, y'all, I got another awesome opportunity for you guys in Texas from my friends over at Rent to Retirement. This is another single family in San Antonio. This one very low price for that market, okay? $262,900. That is, one of the lowest priced homes you can get in a market like this in an A-grade area, okay? Currently tenanted, $1,835 a month is what the tenant is paying. This property is going to be a 3-3, okay? It's like a 3-bed. Well, technically it's like 2.5 baths, but, if it's got a toilet, I consider it a bath, right? So you can't take a shower in that third one, but you can take a poo. You know what I'm saying? Now, Texas, folks, is hot right now, right? Lots of people are moving to Texas, okay? A lot of people leaving California, right? There's 2 states that have the highest net population gain in the USA. Number 1, Texas. Number 2, Florida. In no particular order, because I don't remember which one was 1 and which one was 2. So I should have numbered those. But Texas and Florida are where people are moving. As a matter of fact, San Antonio is one of the 10 largest cities in the USA, right? 2 of the top 10, 2 more in the top 10 are also in Texas, right? Houston and Dallas, okay? This particular property is in San Antonio, but my friends over at Rent to Retirement do have other properties available for you guys in the Dallas area and the Houston area too. So stick around to the end of the video. We'll get into some of those. But this one in particular, $262,900. Already tenanted, which is a rarity for them. They've worked out a special situation with a big-time builder over in Texas. That's why they have so much inventory. Similar type deals are going to be available in Houston and Dallas as well. Speaking of that builder, they are offering $31,548 in builder credits if you were to buy this particular property. Okay, that is friggin' huge because you could do a lot with those builder credits, man. 31 G's. And they're also offering them on their properties in the other markets too, as high as $40K. This particular property, though, $31,548. You can utilize that cash back at closing. You could pay down closing costs, things of that nature, or you can get a lower interest rate. You could buy your interest rate down as low as 4.625%. So you can get yourself beautiful high-end home, tenanted, low interest rate, big-time market, population going big. 3 of the top 10 cities in the USA in Texas, okay? Lots of stuff you can do with that. You guys could reach out to Rent to Retirement, talk to them about this property, the other inventory they have available in Texas, and how you could use the $31,548 in builder incentives here on this property in San Antonio. And if you're interested in some of the other inventory they have available in Texas, the Dallas stuff, okay, the Houston stuff, what I want you to do now is sit tight because I'm going to play some information directly from the president and CEO himself of Rent to Retirement, Zach Lemaster. He's going to be discussing what they have going on in Texas and exactly why this Texas set of properties and inventory that they have is very limited, and it's a little bit different than what they normally do. Typically, right, they're coming to you guys and you're building, right? These homes just got built, already built. They were going to sell them to retail buyers, did not happen, and now you have this very unique opportunity. So I'm going to let him discuss that because he could explain it so much better than I could. So take a look at that footage now.
Hey, Renter Retires, it's Adam Schrader here with Zach Lemaster, the founder and CEO of Rent to Retirement. And we are here to talk inventory today because we have one state that basically everybody asks us, do you have inventory there? And that is Texas. And then we have the biggest thing that people want about turnkey inventory is what? They want a tenant in place already. And then what are people loving out there in the world today? Build to rent. So today we have new construction properties built to rent. Well, actually, they were built to be owned by Owner Rock, but rented out, cash flowing in Texas. So we're going to go over all of that inventory today on this episode. We're really excited to bring it to you. Some of the best options we've ever had, because as Zach's going to tell you, we really took the builder to the drawing board and worked them. Put it nicely.
Yeah, we're here to support you guys, obviously, to create the best investment opportunities we can across the nation. And a large part of this, which I don't think people really understand, Adam, is like a big piece of what we do, the value add we bring to the investor, is negotiating better deals on your behalf even before you see the inventory. And we're able to do that because our community, you, it's the investor, alongside us buying in all these areas, we do volume. And when you do volume, because of economies of scale, you have more negotiation power. So there's power in numbers. But Texas is an area that is highly sought after to invest in because there's a huge deficit of housing. So there's a huge discrepancy between supply and demand. And as I always say, that's the number one thing to look at. Texas has consistently been one of the top 3 growing states in the U.S. So the population is growing. The builders can't keep up with them. There's strong appreciation both in home prices and rents. The challenge is the property taxes, right? And as Adam knows, as a Texas resident and investor, that it's really hard. Texas is a great place. There's no income tax. I mean, it's a great place to invest long term, but the property taxes sometimes can limit cash flow. And so what we were able to do is go to one of our national builder partners and that has tenant occupied properties, which is unheard of in the build to rent space. And so this removes the complete unknown of when will the property be leased and how long will it be vacant and will my rents be exactly what I expect? All of that unknown is removed because these are tenant occupied properties and I'll let Adam explain, but to a quality tenant, someone who they anticipated to maybe potentially buy the home eventually, and people that have been living in these houses and probably will live in them for a significant amount of time. There's even a potential, if you wanted to go down the path of lease to own, that may be on the option or maybe on the table. But the point is that because we have this inventory in Texas that actually cash flows with quality tenants that's already leased, we've also been able to negotiate better incentives than any other inventory we've ever seen. This is up to, in some cases, 12% incentive, guys. 12% incentive. That could equate to up to $40,000 that the investor gets to use however you want. You can take it as cash back. That's going to cover more than half of your down payment on these properties, getting up to 12% immediately back after closing. You can use it to buy down the rate to cash flow excellent in an area that otherwise may not cash flow well because of property taxes. You can use it as a price reduction. I mean, Adam and I spend a lot of time looking at the pro formas to understand what makes the most sense. But these are the highest incentives that we've ever seen, and we've been able to negotiate for you is up to 12%. That's up to $40,000, like I said, that you, the investor, gets access to that you otherwise want to get because you're coming through the rent retirement community. We negotiate with these builders because we move volumes with them. We get to cherry pick the best deals across the country where we know there's ample investment opportunity. And so we're putting this all on a silver platter for our investors to utilize because you're part of our network where you can get up to 12% to use however you want. That's a cash back, buying the rate down. It's just phenomenal. We're going to go through the numbers of these. And as this comes out, we are releasing the inventory at the same time this podcast and YouTube is coming out. So you need to look at the inventory right now. But these are the best deals we've seen in history, Adam. So why don't we look at them?
Real quick before we do that, I want to stress what Zach said. One of the biggest things that people worry about is vacancy and tenant stay time and all of that. It is important to know these properties were originally tenanted by people who wanted to own the property. They had an option period and they didn't exercise their option for whatever reason. But let me tell you, if you move into a house that you're planning on buying, what's the likelihood you're going to stay there for 3, 4, 5, 10 years? It's pretty high because the people wanted to live there, to send their kids to school, to do all the things. They liked it for a reason. They're likely to stay in there ahead of time. And where are these places? These are not in the small communities. Texas has a lot of small cities. These are not small cities. The first one we're going to pull up is in San Antonio. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. It's this really tiny city that people forget about in Texas. Believe it or not, San Antonio is in the top 10 of the country in population. It's the forgotten city of Texas because, Houston, Dallas, Austin get all the publicity, but San Antonio is bigger than Austin. It's bigger than Austin. So this property, you can get a 19% ROI if you do it the way that we have on the pro forma, with the rate buy down, with the cash back at closing, the rent credit, all of these things. Or like Zach said, you can get 12% back, at closing. You can see here, price is $313,900 in the middle of San Antonio. It's rented out for just a little over $2,300, 2,100 square feet, 4-bed, 3-bath, completed, leased. And just look at this. I mean, just quality builds from a national builder, tenant in place, ready to go. We get down to the nitty of the gritty, like Zach said. The property tax numbers, $313,000. Property taxes are a little over $6,000, but it doesn't matter because you have strong rents. And look at this. We can buy your rate down to an interest-only 4.625%. That is the equivalent payment of a 2.5% interest rate. That's COVID level, people. That's COVID level payments.
And there's multiple options that you can use on the lending side, but this is what we've determined to make the most sense, right? Because we're still in an elevated interest rate environment. There's a high likelihood you'll refinance within the next 1 to 3 years, I would guess. And so it may make sense to go the interest only option. But if you don't want to do that, there's other options that still cash flow well and make sense. Adam, scroll up to the bathroom on this, because I think it's important to point out, guys, these are retail builders. This is not being built to go to the kitchen. This is not a build to rent property where the finishes are, probably less than what you put in a residential property, because you're intending it to be, these are retail build. These are high quality finishes on these houses, but the numbers make all the sense in the world. And these are simply the best numbers we've seen. And this is a way that you can invest in Texas and have a phenomenal return on investment. Adam, go to the top here. Just so I want to make sure people conceptualize like what this option is. And this is limited inventory. I just want to be very clear to everyone. This is not something that we'll have forever. Once these properties, this is a chunk of inventory that we have. And we've been able to negotiate very heavily with the builder on it. And we have a time period to sell it. So once it's gone, and these will go very quickly, obviously, because they're phenomenal numbers, investment opportunities, but once they're gone, they're gone. And so I just want to make sure that the audience understands, like, this is time sensitive. You have to act on it. Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
I was going to say, you look at it, a lot of times you see our new construction stuff on the website and you think, oh, they've got 3 models, 4 models, 5 models. We only have one where this person is living in this house paying that rent. Yeah. We have other ones where they're paying different rents and different models, but we only have one property like this.
The best properties will move quickly, right? You have to take action and you have to jump on opportunities. This podcast will go live immediately at the same time the inventory does. And so if you're listening to this, I would encourage you to just talk with your R2R rep immediately. Adam will put, links in the show notes on how to contact them. But just to be clear, you can get this is on a Texas property in a nice location in a metropolitan area that's already leased and rented to a quality tenant. And this is a new construction house. I think it was built last year, but we can buy the rate down to almost 4.5% if you utilize the incentives how we recommend. And this will give you over $10,000 cash back in closing. But that's up to you on how if you were to follow our instruction on this, it would get you to a 19% ROI on a new construction house that cash flows roughly $800 a month in a metropolitan area in Texas. Like, that is unheard of, especially in today's market. So this is a really unique opportunity. But just to make sure everyone understands the power of this, we have a 12% incentive the builder is making available exclusively to the rent-to-retirement community. You will not find this property or these properties anywhere else. These are off-market deals. They're not being listed for sale. They're exclusively off-market deals available to our community. And you get a 12% incentive that you get to use however you want. So on a property that's priced at $313,900, the 12% equates to $37,668. So basically $38,000 that you get to use however you want on this particular property. Just to put things in perspective for people, I always love talking about the tax benefits of real estate investing, right? So this is just something to put in comparison of how you can achieve over 100% return on this particular property because of the incentive structure, only focusing on the tax side to get over 100% return. So just follow me on the numbers for this for a moment. So again, on this particular property, we have $38,000 of incentives. If you put your 20% down on this, and I think we maybe run numbers between 20 to 25% down, but at just theoretically at 20% down on this property, that would be $62,780. If you take this 12% incentive as cash back, that's $37,668 that you get back. So putting $62,000 down and getting roughly $38,000 back, that gives you roughly $25,000 that you're actually into this property for, right? So if you're putting the down payment down on the property and you're getting $37,000 back in cash at close, it dramatically reduces the amount of cash you're actually into this property for, which would be, in this case, $25,000. Now, let's say you run a cost segregation study, because we're back at 100% bonus depreciation for this asset. Let's say you run a cost segregation on this to reduce your tax liability. So at $313,900, 30% of that, because that's usually our napkin math for cost seg studies, is about 30%. Most studies come in much higher than that, but we like to be conservative. So 30% of that is $94,000. So you could expect, plus or minus, if you ran a cost segregation study on this property and accelerated the depreciation, you could get upwards of a $94,000 or possibly more tax deduction in year one. If you follow, your real estate professional, follow a short-term loophole. Either way, we'll walk you through that if that's something you're interested in doing. Or maybe you don't take it this year, you plan for, next year or the year after that, you're tax banking those dollars potentially. So if you got a 90, think about that for a second. Even if you put 20% down, it's $62,000 for this property, and you got a $94,000 tax deduction, that's dramatic. Or if you took your 12% as cash back, so you put $62,000 down, you got your $38,000 cash back at closing, leaving you roughly $25,000 into the deal to get a $94,000 tax deduction. And then you take that against let's call it a 37% tax bracket. We won't even factor in state taxes, but a federal tax at 37%, that's $35,000 of money that you otherwise would pay to Uncle Sam and never see again in this particular asset. So think about that, guys. You could be into this property for 25. If you follow this process, there's a lot of different things you can do. And I'm not an attorney or CPA, but we have very good ones that guide us on tax benefits. But think about that. If you were into this property for $25,000 at the end of the day, and you got a tax deduction of close to $35,000 in year one, so you're actually getting $10,000 more back from the IRS than you're buying this property for, that's over 100% return on investment. That's dramatic, right? I mean, I'll stop there before we go too deep, because Adam wants to present a couple other markets and properties. But just think about how powerful this can be if you utilize this appropriately. And that's just one tax example using cost segregation. But 12% incentive, so $38,000 that you could use however you want, is the highest we've ever seen in company history. And that won't last. These will go very quickly. Adam, anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to say, if you choose to go off and run numbers yourself, like Zach said, do 12% cash back or do a different rate, just make sure you run your numbers right. Like Zach said, the cash flow in Texas is very fickle. So just make sure you run your numbers so that you know exactly what you're getting into as you change things up from what we've listed on the pro forma. So that's San Antonio.
We recommend following the outline that we've put on here, because that's how we're running the numbers, and that's how we think the ROI makes the most sense. So to get a 19% ROI with $800 cash flow a month, this is the strategy that we've recommended, and that still gives you 10.5 of post-closing credit and buys your rate down significantly. That's where the cash flow is coming from, really, is buying the rate down. So if this is confusing to you, just ask your rep, and we'll happily walk through the math with you.
Yeah. So let's go to another small town of Texas, and that is Houston. We've got this property. It's a 17% ROI new build in Conroe, which is a suburb of Houston, but the suburb of Houston, hate to break it to you, is still Houston. You can drive in 2 hours in Houston and still be inside of Houston. This one is $261,000. So we're talking about price points that are very, very achievable. Very, very easy to get into. $261,000. You can get your rate bought down and get almost $8,000 cash back. You get property management covered for a year. And after that, it's only $129 a month, which on this one you see is rented at $1,845. That's less than the 8% that you oftentimes are paying your property manager. So we have a high quality national property management company we're working with where you can pay less than 8%, property management every single year. So this is a nice 1,300 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath property in Conroe, which, like I said, nice suburb. My wife was from that area, good area to live in and work and everything. So, this one's leased again. You can see, just like Zach said before, nice quality finishes in the property. And then we get down to the actual numbers. Still getting 12% back in this community. And yeah, that's what we've got for this one.
Let's look at the third one, Adam, and then we'll wrap it up of how people can reach out. But again, guys, 12% incentive is the highest we've ever seen from a builder. We worked really hard to negotiate this. This is not going to be an ongoing thing. This is on select inventory, but this is quality new construction assets in B and A class neighborhoods in metropolitan areas in Texas, which is a highly sought after area to invest in, hard to cash flow in. You can get rates down into the mid fours in cash flow, hundreds of dollars a month, producing a double-digit ROI on anywhere between 17 to 20% cash-on-cash return. That's dramatic for a new construction house in a quality area that's leased with no vacancy concern to a quality tenant. So this is the type of stuff, like if I was to encourage which I do, my mother or grandmother on what to buy and where to invest because it's super safe and I think she'll have a good experience long term. This is the type of stuff that I would gladly recommend to them. One, because the numbers make good sense and it's a good return on investment, far better than anything else we're seeing out there today. But it's also going to be a very safe investment long term that I would feel confident is going to be worth significantly more in the future. So these price points in metropolitan Texas, stuff's not getting any cheaper. But what's the third one here?
Yeah, and right before I go to the last one, I will say, don't forget, this is not a build to rent neighborhood, like Zach was saying. This is 80-90% owner-occ areas. So just keep that in mind. We're not going to go to probably the smallest city in Texas, and that is Dallas. I think Dallas is like top 4 in the country in terms of population. This is a suburb of Dallas called Venus, about 30 minutes outside of the main urban core. As the 17% ROI. This one's a little bit pricier. It's $339,000 though, so you're still under $350 for a new construction in Texas. You got to get a 17% ROI with $8,400 cash back. Your rate bought down, and not only that, but people, these are DSCR loans. These are DSCR loans which are really easy. This is much less paperwork than a conventional loan to get these things. So you can get it. You can put it straight into an entity if you want, so you're not having to do any quit claim deeds or anything like that. These are loans that are extremely easy to get and to work your way through. So, this one, like I said, $339,900 rented out for $2,575. Nice 4-bed, 2-bath property. You won't have any trouble renting this out whenever this tenant ends up leaving, probably years down the road, like we were saying. So just another solid option. And one of the, these are 3 cities that are all in the top 10 population in the country, steadily growing. I mean, the San Antonio-Austin corridor is basically becoming one city as time goes on, and Houston and Dallas keep expanding and expanding as well. You can't find a city in Texas that's shrinking. In the last,
this is 12% on this property. Each one of these assets we've showed you has 12% incentives, which is exclusive to the rent to retirement community. That's a benefit you get that you would not get anywhere else or buying on your own. And so this is $41,000 on this property. This is the highest we've ever seen, and likely we'll see. So this is $41,000 that you could take as cash back, use to buy the rate down, that you could use price reduction. Of course, we think it makes the most sense to follow our pro forma. But if you want to get a little bit more creative, or you have different needs as the investor where that money is better applied somewhere else, then you can certainly do that. But $41,000 on a $340,000 property, guys, that you could use however you want. And the reason the DSCR makes sense right now is because you can buy the rate down. You cannot do this with a conventional buy the rate down that low. And so this makes sense to use a DSCR loan. And anytime, we're still in weird lending times, and anytime you can use a DSCR loan that beats a conventional product, jump on it, because that's usually not the case, right? You only have so many We each have 10 Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loans that we can hold in our own name at any point in time. So if you're looking at scaling and you have an opportunity where a DSCR loan makes more sense, use it. Use it as much as you possibly can. And like Adam said, this is less painful than going through conventional underwriting and closing process. They can close these in a few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would just say, I remember in our conversation with the builder where Zach was twisting, they actually told us flat out, they said, we don't like these numbers long term, but we can do it for a little bit. And that little bit is not going to be long. Once they see these things start selling, they're going to say, all right, well, that was great. Let's lower these incentives and see if they'll move now. So take advantage of the 12% while the 12% is there. So if you want to check these out, like Zach said, we're releasing this the same time as the inventory is hitting our sheet. Just go to renttoretirement.com, schedule a time to talk with your RTR rep. If you already have a rep and you've been pre-approved, get with them and say, hey, I'm interested in these properties. Let's talk. They can talk exact addresses, get you everything you need to get these properties. That's at renttoretirement.com. Schedule a time to talk with your rep and get a hold of these Texas properties that actually cash flow before they all leave. So I'm going to say a little bit something different. I want to thank you for educating yourselves by listening to us today, but I want to thank you for going and taking action, because I'm hoping that a large chunk of you are going to go and take action and not sit around and wait on the sidelines. Get out there, take action, because you've educated yourselves. And we'll talk to you on the next episode.
Thanks for watching the Rent to Retirement YouTube channel. Check out some of our other videos, like this one, or this one here.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Holton Wise TV for more financial information, education, and entertainment.